The birth of the Anunnaki gods. First, we will look at the work of Lewis Spence, and then I will give interpretations which are relative to the series here at Mythology 7. There came a stirring in the darkness, and the great gods arose. First came Lamu and Lahaim, and many epochs later, Ansar and Kisar, component parts of whose names signify host of heaven and host of earth. These latter names we may perhaps accept as symbolical of the spirits of earth and heaven respectively. Many days afterwards came forth their son, Anu, god of the heavens. At this point, it should be explained that the name Tiawath affords a parallel to the expression Tabom, or deep, of the Old Testament. Practically the same word is used in Assyrian in the form Tamtu to signify a deep sea. The reader will recall that it was upon the face of the deep that the Spirit of God brooded, according to the first chapter of Genesis. The word and idea that it contains are equally Semitic, but strangely enough, it has Akkadian origin. For the conception that the watery abyss was the source from which all things originated with the worshippers of the sea god Ea at Eridu. They termed the deep Apsu, or a house of knowledge, wherein their god was supposed to have his dwelling, and the word was of Akkadian descent. This Apsu, or abyss, in virtue of the animistic ideas prevailing in the early Akkadian times, had become personalized as a female who was regarded as the mother of Ea. She was known by another name as well as that of Apsu, for she was also entitled Sigarun, the heaven, or the mother who has begotten heaven and earth. And indeed, she seems to have had a form or variant in which she was an earth goddess as well. But it was not the existing earth or heaven that she represented in either of her forms, but the primeval abyss, out of which both the heaven and earth were fashioned. At this point, the narrative exhibits numerous defects, and for continuation of it, we must apply to Damascius, the last of the Neoplatonists, who was born in Damascus around 480 AD, who is regarded by most Assyrian ologists as having access to valuable written and traditional material. He was the author of the work entitled Doubts and Solutions of the First Principles, in which he states Anu was followed by Bel, and Bel was followed by the god Ea of Eridu. From Ea and Daukina, he writes, was born a son called Belos, or Bel Merodach, whom the Babylonians regarded as the creator of the world. From Damascius we can learn nothing more, and the defective character of the tablet does not permit us to proceed with any degree of certainty until we arrive at the name Nudimud, which appears to be simply a variant of the name of Ea. From obscure passages, it may be generally gleaned that Tiawath and Apsu, who were once one, or rather originally represented the Babylonian and Akkadian forms of the deep, are now regarded as mates. Tiawath being the female, and Apsu, once female, in this case, is the male figure. These have a son, Momis, or Mamu, a name which at one time seems to have been given to Tiawath. So that in these changes we may be able to trace the hand of the later mythographer, who, with less skill and greater levity than is to be found in most myths, has taken upon himself the responsibility of manufacturing 3 deities out of 1. 1 becomes 3. Brownie points? Thank you. It may well be that the scribe in question was well aware that his literary effort must square with and placate popular belief, or popular prejudice, of course, depending on perspective. And in no era and at no time has priestly ingenuity been unequal to such a task, as is well evidenced in many myths which exhibit traces of late alteration. But in dwelling for a moment on this question, it is only to the priesthood to admit that such changes did not always emanate from them, but were the works of poets and philosophers, for atheistic and rational reasons, took it upon themselves to recast the myths of their race, according to the dictates of a nicer taste, or in the interests of reason. Which explains a clear transition between the Anunnaki gods and the archangels. So, from what I have presented today, in relation to Tiawath being the female, and Apsu once also female, I believe these were one in the same, and the role was taken or re-attributed. The female Apsu becoming the male Ab-Zu. It is a delight to see the first works of Lewis Spence touch on a scribe manufacturing 3 deities out of 1. Obviously, because it is exactly what I have been saying for nearly 3 years now, which has been my own personal insight after looking through the world of mythology. This is not a one-off event. This is a pattern throughout the ages. First they change the figure to being male, then they divide the male god into 3. So it is not actually the mother goddess figure, or the ancient concept of her. It is the new male representation of her, which has then been divided by the magic number. By those who took it upon themselves to recast the myths of their race. Obviously they changed or reformed the birth of humanity from that of the divine to a human lineage, a claim which has caused mass division among the human population to this very day. The reoccurring number I see every day is of course 13, 33, 1 and 3, indicating that I am on the right track, and that all will be revealed, one step at a time. Please hit that notification bell to ensure that you are notified of each upload. Share, like, comment and subscribe to support the channel for more ancient mystery.